2 months ago, I was the maid of honor at my friend B's wedding. I was honored to be asked but hesitant to accept because I was not in a position where I felt I could fulfill the typical maid of honor responsibilities. I was upfront about this from the beginning and made it clear that I would step down without any hard feelings if B wanted someone else. She assured me that it was okay and that it would be a small, non-traditional wedding anyway. All she wanted was for me to stand next to her on her big day. So I accepted and did just that. During the reception, I was chatting with the groom's friends and heard about the extravagant bachelor party they had thrown for him. The best man's girlfriend asked me what I had done for the bride, and I had to admit that I hadn't organized any celebration for her. The atmosphere with that group became awkward, and I could tell that the girlfriend was judging me. In another conversation, one of B's aunts mentioned how beautiful B's dress was and asked me where we found it. I explained that I wasn't the one who took her dress shopping, and the aunt looked surprised and said, "But aren't you the maid of honor?" A couple of weeks later, when B and her husband H came by to deliver a thank you card for my gift, I sensed that H was being a bit distant. The next time I saw him at the grocery store without B, he barely acknowledged me when I said hi, and I knew something was wrong. So I called B and asked if there was something going on with H. She pretended not to know at first, but in short, I convinced her to admit that he was upset with me for not putting more effort into the wedding preparations. It turns out his friends and B's parents agree with him and believe that I should have been more involved. When I asked B for her opinion, she said that although she wasn't angry with me, she could understand where they were coming from. When I reminded her that she herself had initially told me that all she wanted was for me to stand next to her during the ceremony, she responded by saying, "Well, I thought you would be willing to do more as the wedding approached." I apologized for disappointing her and left the conversation at that. We haven't spoken since, and I'm worried that there is now a rift between us. I don't want to make things worse by being defensive, but I can't help feeling resentful. Looking back on the months leading up to the wedding, it seems like B set me up to fail by not clearly communicating her expectations. Was I supposed to be a mind reader? I made it clear what I was capable of contributing, and I believed B when she told me it was enough. Today, I discussed all of this with my mom and sister to get their opinions. My sister thinks that B should have communicated with me if she wanted more from her maid of honor, but my mom thinks that I should have declined the role if I couldn't handle the basic duties. Now I'm questioning whether I was a bad maid of honor and friend, but I'm still frustrated that B didn't tell me what she wanted until it was too late. Am I in the wrong here? Now, for a few comments before the update, comment 1. So these days, to be in a wedding party, very clearly, there are a lot of expectations placed on these roles. And from that perspective, I can see why the bride might have thought you'd do something. But I actually read her initial response to you and thought, how refreshing. A bride who isn't caught up in all the rules and just wants her good friend to be next to her. Because honestly, in the end, that's what your wedding party should be about. Surrounding yourself with people you love and want them there. It shouldn't be about who can fulfill duties. But obviously she wasn't quite so relaxed about it after all, and she needs to own some of that. If she actually did want more from you, she should have spoken up. You were honest with her. And did she have other bridesmaids? They could also have stepped up to organize stuff. Yes, usually the MOH spearhead stuff, but the other could step up if they wanted. Even if the bride had hoped you do more, I think it's really crappy that she's not doing more to defend you. She should be telling her husband and family that she told you it was fine to just be there the day of. Comment 2. Not the jerk, NTA. You did exactly what she asked you to do. You explained your limitations. You offered to drop out if she was not happy with your role. You acted like an adult, in other words. Tell your mother to stand down. There is no way at all to know what the standard duties are for a maid of honor, MOH, these days. There are so many different cultures, so many different budgets, and so many different styles of weddings. Every wedding is unique, as every couple is. So the only way to know what they want you to do is for them to talk to you about it. When you were busy expressing your limitations would have been an ideal time for your friend to tell you what kinds of things she had hoped you could take part in. Then you could have had a realistic adult discussion of whether the role was right for you at this point in your life. She chose to assume that somehow you would magically catch the psychic wave of her wedding at some unknown point in the future. This was stupid of her, and now she's not being a good friend, by allowing her new in-laws and hubby to run you down over it. You'll have to decide how to handle that, but you are definitely not the idiot. Now for the update, thanks for sticking around for this update. So things have gone from bad to worse with B. Remember how I said we hadn't spoken since that awkward conversation? Well, she finally reached out, but not in the way I expected. She invited me over for coffee and I thought maybe we were going to clear the air. Instead, I walked into an intervention. It was B, her husband H, and a couple of their friends, all sitting there with serious faces. They laid into me about my failures as a maid of honor, saying I let B down on what should have been the happiest day of her life. I was stunned. I tried to defend myself, reminding them of our initial agreement, but they weren't having any of it. H's best friend even accused me of being jealous of B, which is ridiculous. I left feeling like I was the worst friend in the world. But that's not even the half of it. A few days later, I found out that B's sister-in-law, who had been nothing but sweet to me at the wedding, had been spreading rumors about me. She told people I was bad-mouthing B behind her back, which is a complete lie. I confronted her about it, and she just shrugged and said, "Well, that's what it sounded like to me." I couldn't believe it. The nerve of some people. And then, as if things couldn't get any more soap opera, B's mom got involved. She called me out of the blue, crying, saying she heard about the terrible things I'd said about her daughter. I spent an hour on the phone trying to convince her that it was all a misunderstanding. But I don't think she believed me. The aftermath of all this drama? My friendship with B is hanging by a thread. I've tried reaching out to her to explain, to apologize for any misunderstanding, but she's been cold. It's like she's a different person. I miss my friend, but I'm starting to wonder if she was ever really a friend to me at all. And just when I thought things couldn't get any more complicated, H lost his job. The whole group is in crisis mode, and somehow I'm being blamed for that too. They say my negative energy is bad luck. Can you believe that? I've been nothing but supportive, but it's like they're looking for a scapegoat, and I'm it. I'm at my wit's end here. I've been losing sleep over this, going over everything in my head. Did I do something wrong without realizing it? But deep down, I know I haven't done anything to deserve this treatment. It's like they want me to be the villain in their story, no matter what the truth is. I talked to my sister again, and she's furious on my behalf. She wants me to cut ties with B and her toxic group of friends, but I can't help but hope that B will come around, that she'll see the truth and we can go back to how things were. I know my sister is probably right, but I just can't bring myself to give up on B yet. Thanks for reading this mess of an update. My stepbrothers shunned me for sleeping with an ex. But when they falsely accused me of theft at the wedding, I exposed their secrets and left them speechless. I, 27-year-old male, have two stepbrothers, Justin, 30-year-old male, and Evan, 27-year-old male. Our parents have been married for 15 years. I was close to both of them throughout my teenage years. However, Evan and I no longer speak since we were 22. This is entirely my fault as I slept with his recent ex-girlfriend. I made a mistake and ruined our relationship, and he will likely never speak to me again. I deserve it and do not blame Evan at all. Justin and my stepmother also didn't speak to me for a couple of years. Evan doesn't want to see me, so we haven't been in the same room since we were 22 either. The way it works is basically Evan gets invited first to anything that Justin or our parents are planning, and I am invited if he can't make it. I know it's awkward and I caused this situation. I am just glad to see them at all, so it isn't my place to complain. Justin is getting married on Monday, and Evan is his best man. Justin and I haven't really talked about the wedding at all. Since I'm obviously not invited, it would be awkward to do so. I booked a trip overseas during the time of his wedding to get away instead of being home, and sad not to be there. I didn't tell Justin or our parents because there was no need to bring it up. We all know I wasn't going to be there and why. On Friday night, Justin tried to call me, but I was asleep, middle of the night where I am right now. I got his message this morning asking me to call him and saying Evan has agreed I could come to the wedding and that he really wants me there. If I was home, the wedding would be 45 minutes away and I'd go in a heartbeat. But I'm in Europe with a friend from college. I told Justin that unfortunately I can't make it because I'm away. Now he's mad at me for not telling him I was going away and for all the effort he spent in convincing Evan to let me come. But I never asked him to do that, and I would have told him not to because I don't think it's fair to Evan, who has set a boundary. I'm not trying to cause him more pain. Justin is pissed at me and blocked me. One of my cousins said he's furious and said, like Evan, he's through with me. My dad called me later and told me if it's about money, he'd buy my ticket home. But I explained it's not just about money, although a lot of the trip is non-refundable. If it was just me, I'd consider going home. But I'm traveling with a friend who didn't sign up to be in Europe for 10 days by himself. My cousins and my dad think I'm being a jerk for not coming to the wedding. But I think it's unfair when the wedding is in 2 days. I know that the situation exists because of my actions. But am I the jerk for not flying back tomorrow to attend the wedding? Edit. I know the majority said I'm not the jerk, but I spoke with my friend and I'm catching a flight home today, Monday, and coming back on Tuesday. I can't lose another brother or the opportunity to see Evan. I don't think it was fair to ask, but I can't risk it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You are definitely not the a-hole. Kudos on the self-awareness and taking responsibility for your actions. Can your dad buy your travel friend a ticket as well? Would your friend be interested in going to Justin's wedding? Seems like a golden opportunity to mend relationships. But also, given Justin's immature reaction, maybe the relationship is not ready to be mended yet. Comment 2. At this point, it's best to stay on your trip. Obviously, you didn't know the change in heart would happen, so you couldn't plan for it. Just know that this is going to affect your relationship with both of them negatively, and maybe forever. No a-holes here because I think being mad about it is somewhat justified, so long as it doesn't escalate further than it has. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around for more of my mess. So I flew back for Justin's wedding, right? Big mistake. I should have stayed in Europe. The moment I landed, I could feel the tension. I got to the venue and Evan wouldn't even look at me. I tried to keep my distance, but you know how family events go. During the reception, I overheard my stepmom talking to Aunt Lisa about some family heirloom that was supposed to be passed down to Justin. Turns out it was missing, and guess who they thought took it? Me. I couldn't believe it. I hadn't even been in the country, let alone their house. But with my history, who was going to believe me? I confronted them, trying to clear my name, but it just made things worse. Accusations flew, voices were raised, and in the heat of the moment, I let slip that Evan's ex, the one I had a fling with, had reached out to me before the wedding. I don't know why I said it. Maybe I wanted to hurt Evan like I was being hurt. It was a low blow and I regretted it instantly. Evan stormed off and Justin was furious. He told me I had ruined his wedding day. I tried to apologize, but he wouldn't hear it. The rest of the night was a blur of cold shoulders and whispered gossip. I left early, feeling like the villain in my own life story. The next day, I found out that the heirloom had been found in the back of a closet at my parents' house. It had been misplaced, not stolen. But the damage was done. No one called to apologize. The silence was deafening. I thought that was the end of it, but life had another curveball for me. My friend, the one I'd left in Europe, had his bag stolen while I was gone, including his passport and wallet. He was stranded, and it was my fault for abandoning him. I felt like a jerk, twice over. I wired him money and helped him sort things out with the embassy, but our friendship took a hit. He said he understood why I left, but I could tell he was disappointed in me. I had let down my brother and my friend in one fell swoop. Now I'm back in Europe, trying to salvage what's left of this trip. But it's hard to enjoy the sights when your family is a mess and your friend is just going through the motions. I thought I was doing the right thing by coming back for the wedding, but all I did was stir up old wounds and create new ones. Thanks for reading this far. It's been a rough couple of weeks. My step-grandparents spread vicious lies about me, so I exposed their secrets and watched as they got shunned by our entire family. Sorry if the title doesn't make sense. I'll do my best to clear it up. I, 17-year-old female, have a blended family. My mom brought me and my two half-siblings, 10 and 8 years old, into her marriage with Mark 2 years ago. Mark also had 2 kids when they met. My younger siblings and my step-siblings call Mark and my mom, Mom and Dad. My step-siblings' mom is only sort of present in their lives. She lives in another state and doesn't really keep in touch with them often. They can sometimes go over a year without seeing or hearing from her, and they don't remember her being more present, so to them, my mom is their mom. My siblings feel the same way about Mark because they don't remember their dad. I was 12 when my mom and Mark met, 13 when I met Mark, and 15 when they got married. Because of my age and being used to not having a dad, I never saw Mark as my dad. I don't call him dad. I don't introduce him as my dad either. Mark doesn't care. We have a good, solid relationship, but it's different from the one he has with my younger siblings and step-siblings. My mom also doesn't care, and she was really instrumental in everything being open and clear to both Mark and me when they were dating and figuring out how to blend things. Mark's parents do not like me. They hide it incredibly well. Like they have never said anything or shown this directly when my mom, Mark, or I are around. I was helping Mark with some errands recently, and I met someone from his parents' church who scolded me out of nowhere. It really took me by surprise because I had seen this person twice, maybe, and didn't even know their name. Mark doesn't either, but she recognized me, and she told me it was disgusting how I treat Mark. I was so shocked. She told me it wasn't surprising that they, Mark's parents, didn't like being around me and found my attitude repulsive. She walked away before I could ask any questions. A couple of weeks after that, I saw Mark's parents out running their own errands and heard them talk to someone else about how awful I was. They accused me of disrespecting Mark. They said I was a teenage terror who was out to make everyone's lives hell. They made some wild accusations. Then that weekend, they were over at our house acting totally normal. Mark's mom gave my brother her phone, and he saw a contact saved under angry face emoji. I called the phone, and sure enough, it was me. This is when I spoke up, and I called out Mark's parents for how they talk about me. And I told them they should be more honest around us about what they think of me, really. Mark asked me what was going on, and I told him about their church friend and what I heard them say about me. Mark was furious with his parents, but they were furious that I didn't stay quiet because they're allowed to find it disgusting and rude that I won't accept their son fully. Mark and my mom kicked them out, but Mark's parents said I was stirring shit. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You were stirring up trouble? They are slandering you to anyone who will listen and you're stirring up trouble? Not the idiot. It sounds like you have a great relationship with your stepdad. It's bound to be a little different since you were older when he came into your life. I don't know what kind of a normal person can fail to understand that. You were right to stick up for yourself. Just because Mark's parents are older doesn't mean they can do whatever they want. I am very happy that your mom and stepdad took your side and kicked them out. Comment 2. Not the idiot. They're creating drama and spreading lies about a child. I'd ask Mark if he'd set things straight with those people at church because you really don't want to be harassed again by someone who was fed lies about you. And tell his parents that either they take back what they said and apologize in public, like in church on Sunday, in front of everyone, or you'll go against them for defamation. Now for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. Things have escalated since then, and I'm still reeling from the fallout. After the blowout with Mark's parents, things at home got tense. Mark was trying to smooth things over, but I could tell he was hurt. My mom was on edge, always looking like she was bracing for another fight. The younger kids didn't understand what was happening, but they could feel the tension. It was like walking on a tightrope every day, trying not to make things worse. Then, last Tuesday, I made a mistake that changed everything. I was supposed to pick up my half-siblings from school, but I got the times mixed up and arrived late. By the time I got there, they were gone. Panic set in. I called my mom, who was at work, and she freaked out. She left immediately to help me look for them. We found them at a neighbor's house. They had walked there when I didn't show up. My mom was relieved, but furious with me. She said I was irresponsible and that I could have put my siblings in danger. I felt terrible. I apologized, but the damage was done. The next day, my mom sat me down for a talk. She said that my mistake with the school pickup had made her realize that our family was falling apart. She said that we needed to work on our trust and communication, or we wouldn't make it through this rough patch. I agreed, feeling the weight of my actions. But it wasn't just my mistake that was causing problems. Mark's parents had been spreading rumors about me in their community. They said I was a bad influence on their grandchildren and that I had purposely left my siblings stranded as a way to get back at them for their comments. The story spread like wildfire, and soon people I didn't even know were looking at me with judgment in their eyes. I tried to ignore it, but it was hard. I felt like I was under a microscope, with every move I made being scrutinized. It was exhausting. Then on Saturday, Mark took a stand. He went to his parents' house and confronted them. He told them that their behavior was unacceptable and that they needed to stop spreading lies about me. He said that if they couldn't accept me as part of the family, then they wouldn't be welcome in our home anymore. His parents didn't take it well. They accused him of choosing me over his own family and said that he was being manipulated by my mom and me. They told him that he was making a huge mistake and that he would regret it. Mark came home that night looking defeated. He said that he had hoped his parents would see reason, but it was clear that they were set in their ways. He said that he didn't want to cut them out of our lives, but he couldn't let them continue to hurt me and our family. The next few days were a blur. Mark's parents called and tried to apologize, but the damage was done. Mark told them that they needed to take some time to think about their actions and that we would be taking a break from them for a while. It was a hard decision, but it felt like the right one. We needed to protect our family, and that meant setting boundaries with people who were causing us harm. Now we're trying to move forward. It's not easy, but we're working on it. We're having family meetings to talk about our feelings and how we can support each other. It's a start, but there's a long road ahead. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.